This time last week here on this show, we brought you the story of a high school junior, an honor student, a standout volleyball player, the drummer in the high school band. He goes to Milford High School in Massachusetts. His name is Marcelo. And we brought you the story of the most unusual graduation day at Milford High last weekend when the kids graduated. They went through the graduation ceremony, and then they all marched with their families and with all the teachers and all the rest of the kids from school. They all marched down to Milford Town Hall to protest for Marcelo because Trump's immigration agents had stopped him while he was driving to volleyball practice with his high school teammates. They had pulled him over. They arrested him, and the whole dang town of Milford, Massachusetts turned out to defend him, to stand up for him, and to try to get him out. We brought you that story this time last week. And tonight, exactly 1 week later, we can show you these images of his homecoming, because Marcelo has been freed, returned to his family and to his community. They, as a community, as a town, as a school, challenged his arrest. When his case was being heard, the whole town came to the courthouse, including dozens of teenagers from Milford High and the members of the volleyball teams at the school. They all wore T-shirts with his number 10, on the back. When he was released, you could see two Democratic members of Congress who were there with him. That's Jake Auchincloss on the left and Seth Moulton on the right. After Marcelo was freed, those two members of Congress used their power as members of Congress to demand that they be allowed entry into the two ICE facilities in Massachusetts where the Trump administration has been locking people up, including this high school junior, this volleyball playing kid. Under federal law, members of Congress are allowed to inspect any ICE immigration holding facility with no advance notice. And frankly, because the town of Milford, Massachusetts reared up on its hind legs and roared to defend this kid, these members of Congress who represent that part of that state were moved to go inspect those facilities with the power vested in them under U.S. statute. This time last week, we also brought you the story of Carol, a waitress in Kennett, Missouri, which is a small town, a Trump-supporting town in Missouri, where Carol was an integral part of the community. 3 kids in local schools. She's an active member of the local Catholic Church. She's a much-loved waitress at John's Waffle and Pancake House. Trump's immigration agents took Carol, and the town rose up to try to get her back. The staff at John's all started wearing "Bring Carol Home" T-shirts. They put "Bring Carol Home" petitions on every table at the restaurant where she had worked. The Catholic church that she attended held prayer services for her, and they brought meals to her family. The town held a Carol Day fundraiser for her, and to fund efforts to advocate to bring her home. They raised nearly $20,000 for her in a single day. We brought you that story this time last week, and tonight, 1 week later, we can show you these images of Carol's homecoming because she has been released. She has been brought home. Neighbors crowded into the parking lot of that pancake house where she worked to welcome her back the night that they got her out, to say they would protect her and protect her family. We've also brought you the story of a little 4-year-old girl in Bakersfield, California. She is not only, obviously, the cutest little girl in the world, she is a huge medical success story. She was born with a rare condition that means basically that she can't take in any nutrients on her own. She had her first surgery when she was only 4 days old. She had 7 more surgeries by the time she was 2. Because of this rare illness she was born with, she was starving. She was not going to survive her infancy with this condition. But under the Biden administration, on a medical humanitarian visa, this little girl was brought to California, to a children's hospital in San Diego, and then to the children's hospital in Los Angeles. And it's been a complete success. She is now thriving. You see how she's wearing that little backpack? They've devised this system that they've built into a backpack where she receives intravenous nutrition 14 hours a day through this little backpack that she wears. And then every 6 weeks, she needs to go to the children's hospital for more extensive treatment. But this system together is working. She's alive. She's thriving. She's great. President Donald Trump ordered her deported to Mexico. Her doctors said if that happened, that would, by necessity, stop her treatment. They said she would be dead within days. Trump administration insisted she and her family must be deported. They gave her 7 days to leave. The Los Angeles Times and other media outlets reported on this story. There was, as you might expect, an outcry and protest. California's Democratic U.S. senators got involved. Adam Schiff and Alex Padilla both got involved. And in response to that outcry, you know what happened? The Trump administration gave up. That little girl will be allowed to stay with her family. They're going effectively to let her live. This is footage from local news from local Channel 4 in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and from News from the States, their print coverage of people picketing peacefully outside the immigration facility in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And you see the signs there, the repeated signs that all say, "Keep Antonio here." Antonio is a local man with 3 kids. He's lived locally in the Albuquerque area for more than 20 years. He was told suddenly that he needed to appear at the local immigration office for a sudden meeting. By this point, of course, people know exactly what that means, right? Albuquerque residents knew what it was going to mean for him. They turned out in force to defend him, to picket, to basically say, "Don't you dare take him away." Immigration officials held the man inside for 3 hours, but then they let him go. They didn't try to take him. He walked out. He was embraced and cheered by the local people who had turned out to protest for him. So what is the most important story in our news right now? I mean, there is clearly, I think if we're being honest, there's really no question what the United States is up against right now. I mean, the intentions of this president are not a mystery. There's no suspense. There's no ambiguity, right? We know exactly who he is. We know exactly what he wants to do to the country. The real mystery is not him. We know him. We know what he wants and what he's trying to do. The real mystery is, will he succeed? Will he get what he wants? And the answer to that will not be found by looking at him or by watching his actions. The answer to that question will come from the people of this country. The most important story of our time is this one. What is this country going to allow him to do? This is an attempted authoritarian overthrow of the United States Constitution and the U.S. government, the attempted imposition of a dictatorial regime. That is clear. That is unambiguous. I think it is unquestioned. I think there are very few people on any side of American politics who would contend with that. The question is whether it will work. And the way we will find out whether or not it's going to work is not going to be something that happens in the White House. It's going to be something that happens in the streets and in the courts and in the states and in Congress and in every other place that people are trying to say no. The strength of the movement against him is what will determine our fate as a country. What we are seeing over and over again is that protesting against him works, that he wants to seem strong, but he is not that strong. Organizing against him works. Fighting him in court works. Pushing back works. Protesting in the streets works. And so Marcelo is free in Milford, Massachusetts. And Carol is free in Missouri. And the 4-year-old girl in Bakersfield, California is free and alive. And in Albuquerque, the movement to keep Antonio here means that Antonio is still here. And none of these things are instant, right? And they don't always work. But pushback is the only thing that ever does work.